What's up guys, it's Mark here back with another video. Hope you're all doing really well today. Today I'm going to do another one of my hand lettering critique videos, and so I've actually posted in the new Facebook group that I recently started. By the way, if you haven't heard, there's a link to it in the description. You're welcome to join. I posted in our Facebook group asking if anyone would like to have their work critiqued in my next YouTube video, and Chloé, who is a graphic designer from France, has actually sent a link to her Instagram profile. So instead of just picking one design this time and critiquing that, I thought I'd have a flick through a whole bunch of them. That way I can give sort of a wide range of tips, I guess. I thought people might find that a bit more useful this time around, so just another way to kind of mix things up a bit. So first of all, I have to say thank you to Chloé, because you know, no one really, well, I shouldn't say no one, but people often don't like being critiqued and stuff like that, and then to take it another level and be critiqued in public on a video like this is, you know, that is on a whole other level, so I have a lot of respect for that. So I've got Chloé's Instagram here, and I'm going to flick through and actually just pick out a few different examples that we can have a look at. First of all, Chloé, I really like this drunk design you did. I really love that effect. I think that's really smart and really cool. So well done there. Let's see. This is pretty cool. I do like this script as well. I love that effect in the background as well, by the way. I think that's awesome. Okay, I'll keep that one as well. Might grab that one. I'm going to try and pick a couple of different styles, I think, as examples for this. Oh wow, I love that. That's sick. I really think that's really cool. Well played, by the way. That's almost a pun, actually, come to think of it. But anyway, really smart that you've chosen to kind of attach these letters like the U and the S and the D and the O. I think that's really cool. Very cool effect. We'll grab this one too as well. Alright guys, so I've had a bit of a look through Chloé's profile. I've grabbed 4 different designs. I've got them in Photoshop now, so I can basically just draw over the top of them, and I've got my tablet so we can do some real critiquing here. So I'm going to start with this happy design. It's obviously done with some kind of brush pen or something like that. I really do like the dry texture effect. I'm a big fan of that sort of dry brush style. So overall, it's pretty solid. If I was going to give you any advice on this one, I think it's probably to do with the way that you've drawn the P's here. I can definitely see the sort of style you're going for. It's quite common to see in a script people will sort of do it like that and then go on to the next one. But in this, it's just a little bit close to looking like an N or maybe even an R, I guess. I can tell, I think that pretty much anyone who looks at this will be able to tell after a little while that it does say the word happy, because you've got the sort of the smiley face shape with the Y there, but just be a little bit careful when you're drawing those P's. You could even actually draw the P like this and then just connect off of it to another one if you like. Or yeah, if you do want to still do that style, just try and bring it in a tiny bit further before you go off out the other way, just to really solidify the fact that it is in fact a P. In addition to that, it's overall pretty well balanced. I know that some of the letters are sort of slanting out this way, but on the opposite side it's like that, so it does make sense. I would just say that the A and maybe the H as well are a little bit taller than a lot of the other letters, it seems, so maybe just work on just kind of I mean, if I was going to do this, I would probably just draw a guideline like that and just make sure that all of your letters are nicely filling that space properly. That's all. So overall, you know, nothing major, just little tweaks really. So I've got this other design here. It says raindrop drop top. So I guess my first thoughts are it's a really cool design. I like the idea here. I think the main feedback I would give you is actually with the word drop top down here. I would actually swap that to be white or a different color, because at first when I looked at it, I didn't actually even see those words down there. I just saw the words raindrop. So the photo is just a bit dark for that, that's all. So you could even maybe look at making the main part of these letters white and then having the shadow transparent or something like that. But yeah, the black on a dark photo just is a little bit tricky to read, that's all. Also, I know I said this in the last one, but again, just with the P's, just try to make sure that you are just bringing them back that little bit further like that, just to make it, you know, a bit more obvious that it is in fact a P. I do like the letter form, sorry, I think it suits the overall style. I like that you did the raindrop above the I think that's pretty cool as well. Some of the letters here feel a little bit smaller than those at the top. But yeah, overall nothing major, and also really good use of texture, I think, inside the letters here. I really like that sort of texture. Okay, so this script here, do what you can't do. I love this style. I love that you did the 3D drop shadowy sort of effect like I did in one of my other videos. Obviously a big fan of that, so I think that's really cool. Anytime I do a critique or look at a script that's a mono weight like this, and I tend to do the old guidelines thing where I pull out all my guidelines and start checking all my measurements and stuff like that. So I think that's what I'll do here. Just before I get into too many details, one thing that I can see off the bat is some letters are quite thick and others are quite thin. So if I just have a quick glance, the D and the O here are quite round, but by comparison, if I look at the H and the A, they're quite narrow and a bit more condensed, which is, again, you know, it's not a huge thing. Overall, the lettering is really solid. Honestly, it's really good script. But yeah, just sort of keeping in mind those proportions and stuff like that. So one thing that I do when I do a lot of scripts like this, just to make sure that everything is staying the same width, is when I first sketch it out like this, I actually can draw circles like that where each letter is going to go. And that just gives you a really rough guideline, so that when you start actually drawing the letters, you can make sure that they all fit in the right proportions. So I'm just going to draw up a couple of guidelines real quick. Okay, so I've got some guidelines in place now. I really like that in the words "what you," they're all pretty much perfectly aligned on those guidelines. So it's great to see that you've obviously used guidelines when creating this lettering. The word "do" is just peaking a little bit. It's just a little bit too big, I think. So it's just kind of peeking over the guidelines there. I like that you've created this cool flourish from the Y over to the U here. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know that I've done one like that before, so that's pretty cool. Another thing to sort of notice here with this kind of script is that if you look at where I've placed the guidelines, I've placed them over where all the words are. But if you have a look at the spaces between each line, for example, this space here, when compared to this space here, this gap's quite narrow. So I understand why you've done that. Obviously the W and the H are quite tall, but I think they should be consistent across all of them. So if you have to have a big space up here, then you should still have a bigger space in this section as well. And that would have actually sort of worked in your favor in a way, because this T here, the crossbar of it, is actually below the X height there. So if you'd pushed them down a little bit further, you could have still worked in a nice little flourish there on the T as well. And while we are looking at the word "can't," there's a fair bit of space here as well. I understand that obviously you've got to make room for the apostrophe and stuff as well, so I can see why. And also you've obviously added this flourish off the end, but I would probably think about maybe even if you have to remove that, or you could even simply just bring that down lower so it's out of the way. Slide the T back across and have that crossbar above the guidelines, just so all of it will balance out a little bit better. But overall, like I said, you know, these aren't major problems. Overall, it is really solid lettering. It's just a matter of when you get into like the little nitty gritty and details, and we start to get really picky about the specific measurements and stuff like that. Alrighty, so I'll jump onto the last lettering piece now. So again, this is obviously done with like a brush pen. I love that it's got that sort of dry brush feel to it. I really am a big fan of that. I love those little streaks and stuff that show up in the brush when you work with it really quickly, especially while it's a little bit dry. And I think the texture that you've chosen in the background is really appropriate. It really does match that style. And also the kind of ink splats that are off the M there, I think is really cool too. So like from a stylistic point of view, I think it all ties in really well. I think this little swash underneath here is pretty much perfectly placed. It's exactly as balanced as it should be. You've left the right amount of space next to the M and the N there to give it that visual balance, and it also matches really well with the space above it there. So a really common mistake I see is people overdo these and extend it either too close underneath, or they push it all the way a bit too far, and it can just look a little bit cramped. But the way that you've positioned that, I think, is perfect. So well done for that. Now for this one, you might be thinking, why am I not drawing guidelines? Well, a lot of the time with this style of brush script, people sort of do like a bouncy kind of style where it doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly lined up, and the letters can sometimes be a little bit bunched around, jumbled around and stuff like that. It almost creates like a bouncy, more energetic feel to the lettering, which I think is what Chloe's tried to do here. Having said that though, I would think about maybe just the height of this I versus this L here is different, which is fine. but then with the other L and the other I, you've got them right on the same guideline. So it looks like one of them somewhere along the line is not quite in the right spot. I would maybe consider just sort of trying to connect these letters with the brush as well. And that'll just really help to tie in the piece. So that way, even if your letters aren't all at the same height, if you actually tie them all in so they connect to each other, it looks like the different height positioning is intentional, and that makes it really obvious that it's the way it's supposed to look, if that makes sense. I really like this O. I really love that you left a little bit of space there on the upstroke. I think that's really nice. I would maybe just consider just keeping this O just a little bit further away from the end, just give it a little bit more space, because the spacing between all of the other letters is really good. It's really consistent, which I think is great. You've just got a little bit too cramped on the end, which I can understand. This would have just been a single pass brush grip, so completely understandable. But yeah, we'll just consider having a little bit more space between the O and the N. I think it's also worth mentioning as well that the sort of vertical axis of all of the letters in this one is really consistent, which is great. They're all on the right lines there, so that's really good to see. And overall, I think that it's a really solid piece. So yeah, I hope you found that helpful, Chloe. I apologize if I sound a bit rusty in this one. I'm actually just a little bit hungover because we actually got married yesterday, but I really wanted to make another video, so I couldn't help myself. But overall, Chloe, really solid lettering. I appreciate you letting me critique your work in the video, like I said. And if you're out there and you'd like me to critique your work, by all means feel free to post it in the Facebook group or send me it in a message or something like that, and you can be included in another video. If you enjoyed the video, guys, as always, really appreciate a thumbs up, or if you could subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.